Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Impossible Puzzles Show. It's episode 182. Good Lord, we have survived this long. Today, we are saying hi to the Kipp Sorensen. I've heard about you. You're one of these very interesting, smart people. But for those who've never heard your wisdom, introduce yourself to the earth and the Jewish community here in Toronto. What's up?
I love it, man. Kipp Sorensen. What do I say, man? Farm boy, raised in Utah, technologist for the last 20 years, now have taken on, and I'm saying this intentionally, have chosen to take on the problem of leadership as a problem I want to address.
Oh my God, this will fasten thy seatbelts and call the rabbis and ministers. Oh my God. I leadership. Oh my God, the hot seat, if you will. The king, the heavy lies the crown of the king. Oh my God. How shall we kick this off? And shall we get the Tylenol and the marijuana? Oops, let me see, my wife's listening. I have
Or
five
alcohol.
kids, and I've been married 11 years. And I always joke when anyone asks for life advice, business advice, marital advice, product inventing advice, I always say, just because Mike Merker has a piano in the house does not mean that he can play the works of Chopin.
Yeah. Well, and what I love, if you don't mind me injecting, like, what's advice really? Like, do we really seek someone's advice, or do we want them to suggest and provide some different ways for me to consider for myself, right? Like, even that thought process is a dangerous process. Oh, let me get advice from you. Let me have you tell me what I should do. No. No one should ever do that for you. So give me ideas, Mike. What has worked for you? Give me possibility for me to consider for myself, so I'm self-directed in what I'm doing.
Oh my God. Here we have opened the can of worms, and yes, I've never been, this is a recent thing. I'm 42 now, but I never was mentoring others who were half my age. People never came up to me until recently. People never came up to me and they're like, yeah, what sayest thou? Or I'm coming over. I have all these questions. I'm like, it's 11 at night. I'm married. My wife's very religious. And no, don't bring over the New Testament. No, we're like Orthodox Jews over here. And I've had some interesting conversations, and I've learned that it's always hard to talk. Advice to others is complicated because people are coming from different backgrounds, different life experiences. They may have, sometimes someone saw a TikTok video for 5 seconds and now they have this brilliant idea. And I'm like, no, Mike Merker has been designing like intricate Bible puzzles and game designs. I've been in that space for like 15 years. It's not, you don't want to walk into the patent, you don't want to go call that patent attorney and be like, I have a great idea. No, they're going to expect like a 15-page portfolio of drawings, designs, and your life. You people ask you for advice too. How do you frame them and steer them in the right or wrong directions?
Yeah. And full disclosure, this might be a cop-out for me to not take responsibility for quote unquote advice I give people. But 6 months ago, I remember this. I was having a conversation with someone, and it was with a leader that, let's just say, was a little bit self-centered and thought really highly of themselves, right? And they used the language of, well, we implemented said system and got our people to X. And I paused for a minute and I went, do we really get people to do anything? Really? Like, do we really? And then I reflected on like, well, if I give advice to Mike, is it me that got Mike to do it? No, Kipp, let go of your ego, your arrogance that thinking your almighty advice actually causes people to change. No, no, no. I create possibility and ideas for others to consider for themselves. That's it. Change, as you know, happens where? On your side of, not with me. I don't cause change. You accept and cause change. I just present ideas.
It's
Right.
so true. Yeah.
And I think if we have that concept, we're a little bit yet less arrogant around the advice that we give, but we also give ownership to the other individual, that it is their decisions and actions that cause change, not the advice. Because what happens if I put my weight into the advice that you give me, Mike? If I do that too much, when it doesn't work out, what do? Well, I didn't get good advice from Mike. And now I'm not operating from ownership. I'm just passing the buck, and I'm drifting in a different way. I'm drifting with all the talking heads in my life versus me owning the outcome, right? And accepting it for myself.
Yeah. Here we're getting into the saying of the true, the uncomfortable truth, which is, how many times I've been asked something, and then now I've learned, wait a second, if I say that a week from now, when the person tries it half-heartedly once, it's going to be, Merker, you son of a boop, and I hate you, and you suck, and your wife's curly hair is too curly, and your stupid toy company, you suck. And I've learned in life that not everyone's cut out. Not everyone wants to sit in the hot seat, driving the insanity bus where pizza I think of when I was a little kid going to like some Jewish private school, and you get on the back of the bus, and the poor immigrant, Israeli driver is like driving the school bus. And then there's obviously my friend Shlomo with the leftover apple slices his mom gave him for lunch, and he's like, take that, stupid bus driver. And the reality, it's a terrible image in my mind. And the fighting on the bus and the yelling on the bus, and then whatever, grade 3, what can you really control anyhow? And totally. But that's what it's like running a small business, launching like a new product. It is like driving a crazy bus where everyone's throwing everything at you and everyone's screaming. And you also have to drive everyone home. Everyone needs to get home at the end of the day and be picked up. And you have to take them where they need to go, and they torture you. And leadership is a nightmare. And, everyone says, oh, I'm going to be a great do, until Mike Tyson says, you
get punched in the face.
And every week, you among many things, you're never afraid to do a weekly session and other things in your life where you have an incredible style of uplifting everyone and raw. Sometimes it feels like the book of Proverbs has been opened, and and it's like, you love doing that. You love inspiring others, and it's not all one-on-one hand-holding. It's raw as a group.
Yeah.
How did you? Yeah. Why do you love that? Guiding others and inspiring others so much.
I have to, full disclosure, right? We'll use some authenticity here, right?
Yeah.
And raw and real. I have to be careful. I have to be careful with that, right? Because otherwise then I'll think too highly of myself. You know what I mean? And I'll think, oh, look at me. And I'm like, no. It's not about me. And so I have to remind myself often that why do I like the weekly calls that we've talked about or that we've been on together, and trying to inspire. And I think what really connects with me, because it inspires me by me just creating an environment for us to have a conversation around real, raw, authentic things. It helps me. If I'm not listening to my own advice, I'd be naive, right? Like sometimes we'll have a conversation, guys will share, we get raw and real, and I hang up and I go, man, I need to do what we talked about. I need to do some of the things that I talked about, that I think that I maybe have suggested to Mike and others that they should do, right? Like it's coming right back at me. And it's really just this dialogue with other men and with myself, to be frank, around what's really important and what's critical and how we show up and how it impacts people. And so I just feel uplifted, to be honest with you, by having the conversation with people.
Amazing. Yeah, I love the full disclosure layer here. I spent for 7 years, I was every morning and some nights I was teaching in as a rabbi or fake rabbi, if you will, teaching old Jewish books and ancient texts, trying to explain them to people. And there were times when someone was really sad or, and I still had to teach them for 3 hours straight. And there were disagreements, and there were the traditional rabbis looking over. They're like, Merker, don't, Merker, you're in our house.
You're towing the line. Yeah.
And I was raw, and I had my, I was always known as the one with the special education trinkets to entertain, and the clown costume, and the stupid colorful books and funky charts, and sometimes there would be serious disagreements, or I would be teaching something wrong, and one of the serious dudes in a serious way with a nice big hat would come up and be like, you said this, that's incorrect. And I'm like, I said a lot of things that were incorrect today, but we did serve some vodka. There was a little bit of alcohol. There was a little bit of fun. There was a little bit of falsity. There's a little bit of swearing, but the ship was on course. And it's like, but this is incorrect, and this, and I'm like, well, remember, you're sitting up, you're not in front of 3 people who are ready to kill you. You're doing a more traditional thing in a traditional way. It's harder in real time when you have to entertain and guide and teach and share, and sometimes even 20 people came into a class, and I was never ready. And people ask questions. Your style of teaching, and I'm learning this, the best teachers, lecturers, educators, they silence themselves a lot, and then they go around. This is like the new way to me. Yeah. And then they pause and they go, yeah, I don't know everything, and I don't know if my honor is and my false sense of knowledge is interfering with their ability to hear every word. Not everyone has a full tank of gas. Some people have other problems going on in their life. And so, yeah, I've had so many experiences where I was like, you did this wrong and we hate you. And I'm like, it's a little bit difficult when a person can't read and you have to teach them and they can't read. So it's a lot more, you have to hide certain truths and whatever. And I'm blabbing a bit on the topic, but even a new thing for me was, I lived 10 years deep in the Jewish religious Orthodox world, living, working, married with 5 kids now. And I'm learning that sometimes we step into a different room and it's a different religion, or it's an anti-religious group. And how do you deal with that? How do you navigate all the different spheres of life? I'm always shell-shocked. I need like a Stanford Fleming time zone chart to know where I am, and is everyone happy, unhappy, Christian, Jewish, whatever. My wife's even doing laundry behind me here, giving me funny looks. I'm hiding behind the microphone. I said too much.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I used to teach. I used to teach Sunday school, and I'm not a biblical scholar, right? I'm not. In fact, I think I'm the last person that should be teaching anything around religion. And there's people in my class that are religious professors at the local university, right? And I'm like, I shouldn't be up here. But then I think, wait a second, am I up here because I'm facilitating conversation, or I'm up here because I'm saying, listen to me? Am I preaching? And I don't think preaching is as effective. And so I've been really riffing on this idea of I've nerded out on some content from Napoleon Hill, and he would probably suggest non-Jewish. He's a Christian guy, right? And so
Throw it
it may not
out
relate
there.
as much.
Wisdom is wisdom. Throw it out there.
But I love this around Napoleon Hill, and he uses this term drifting. And the way I'd use it is like, well, you and I can get in a boat and hop in a river, and we can progress down the river. But who is in control when there's a fork in the river? The river is, not me. I'm drifting. It's not until I get an oar that I go, no, we're going to go right in the fork of this river, or I'm going to go left. And I'm owning the boat and the direction of the boat. And I feel, and this is where I'm a little bit, this might be a little bit, disruptive, is we have a tendency to operate as though we're the river. And we think, no, I know where my kids should go. I want them to drift to my control. And religious leaders will say, I want you to drift. I'll give you knowledge. You just follow. Or teachers at schools go, no, don't have independent thought. Don't challenge the status quo. We will tell you what you need to know. And though that way of thinking promotes what? Pawns?
Yeah.
People that go along. I'm religious. I'm part of a group. Yeah, but are you spiritual? Do you have a relationship with your creator? No, I don't. I'm just part of the group, and I do what the group tells me to do. We've lost the whole point. I'm not saying those frameworks aren't great. They're great frameworks, but they should be, religion and education and parenting should be frameworks to promote someone to eventually be self-directed in their own thought and spiritual journeys, not to be controlled and dictated by us.
Oh my God, I have yes. Oh yeah, amazing. And I'm. Isn't that so interesting? I look back when I was younger, and the best teachers I've ever had were not. This is heretical. We're not those rabbis saying, "Wake up, pray for an hour and a half. This is how we do it. This is the straight path." There's literally books in Hebrew called, in Hebrew, Mesilas Yesharim or whatever, the straight path, the path of the just, the right path. And I'm like, oh, and I've been told my whole life, why can't you just be the straight path, Merker, you a-hole? And it took a few guesting on other people's podcasts to pull it out of me, and once it's pulled out, you can't unpull it, and once the video goes out to 300 people watching it a month later, you're
late.
Yeah, I just posted it. I was like, whatever, and and I'm like, please take that down. It's like, take it down, we're gonna put it up again, what are you doing next week? And I'm like, God, but you titled it Mike Merker fired 15 times, thrown out of every project he worked on, even ones with his name on them. And the reality in life is I'm hardcore ADHD, neurodiverse. I have all the autistic traits, and I fail miserably on the sit in the boat and paddle and go on the straight line and wake up at this time and do what we need you to do and shut off every other part of your brain. I can't, even if I wanted to.
It's a superpower. I think it's a superpower. It can be so powerful. You know what I mean?
When I first did the first podcast episode, I was terrified. Even episode, I think 30 it was, I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. All this people were asking me hard questions, ripping me apart, and I'm like, hey, I get to ask the questions. I can edit that out. They're like, edit it out? You said it's raw and unscripted and anything can happen. I'm like, well, I didn't know you would tell that story of when I punched the guy in the guts and when 14 years old and knocked him off the log at summer camp. And now he lives around the corner. But things come out, and we can't hide. We're in the broader tangential topic here is leadership. You cannot hide. Everything you say, people hear. and everything.
Yeah.
And people talk. You can't hide. You
No.
can't pretend that, oh, because I invented this or I started this, that I get 100% my vision, my thoughts. I'm the dictator. No, no, no. And we have to, and yet all the responsibility falls on me. Yet I have to constantly allow others to rise to the occasion. And every knock is a boost. I'm learning today that when someone criticizes, we write it down. We write it down and we say, thank you for your honest feedback. I am making notes. They're like, the website, I clicked this, it doesn't work. I tried this, I saw you have 2,300 videos. They're all terrible and you're an idiot. I'm like, yes, idiot, correct, idiot. They're like, are you writing down the word idiot? And I'm like, yes, I wrote down. And then the critics are good. We need criticism, constructive criticism, preferably. And thank God for my mom who comes over, whether on a weekly or whatever basis, and goes, who is buying this? And what is going on? And you should have been a chemical engineer. And I'm like, I can't. I'm crazy. I said too much. Hiding behind the microphone. You have had different ups and downs in your own life to carve out who Kipp Sorensen really is. And you're not afraid to be vulnerable. That's one of your secret wisdom tricks. Or it's not secret, it's unsecreted. You share everything, warts and all. Is that the way we should be leading and sharing and public speaking?
It depends if my objective is to look good or to help others. If it's to look good, it may not help me, right? It may be a really bad strategy, right? But let me share something that I do, or that we do in our church. We have this beautiful thing, and I've stolen this because I think it's so powerful. Is on the first Sunday of every month, we have fast and testimony meeting. And on the first Sunday, everyone fasts, and then they share their testimonies. Okay, kind of different, interesting. No preacher, no lesson up at the pulpit, people sharing. And I thought, why is that? Why is that so powerful? Why? And literally, I thought this like years ago. I'm like, why is testimony so powerful? Because the human behavior is that, Mike, the minute you tell me what I should or should not do, the human response is, I agree. I disagree. Oh, I think this. Like, I stopped listening because I'm trying to argue with your command or your preach to me. And anyone that's listening, you're like, well, I don't do that. It's like, well, you just did it. You just did it. Right. So like, this is what we do. But Mike, if you get up on the pulpit and you say, check this out, people. Last month, I had this amazing experience and I learned this and it's so amazing. And I just want to share it with everybody. That's non-threatening to me. You're just sharing what was true for you. And because of that, I have a tendency to sit back in my seat and go, I wonder if that's true for me on my own terms. Not a challenge to me, not a threat to me, but I consider it. And so it's out of agency, I take that on. But when you're telling me what I should or should not do, human behavior is to reject those type of commands, because I actually think our Creator gave us a powerful thing, and it's called agency. And we want to operate out of choice constantly. And so the minute a command comes across as commanding, I think it gets pushback, it gets resistance, it invites the yin, right? If I give pressure, what do most people do? They push back. That is very natural. So don't push back. Just model, share. And when people are ready to accept it, they'll accept it. And here's the crazy part. I don't know. I find this fascinating. I find this really fascinating.
Yeah. Tell.
And I'm gonna. Sorry, I'm trying to like.
No. Tell. Give the spiel.
Jewish kind of, but
say what you want to say.
My example is not a Jewish example. So, but I'll. There's this guy called Jesus, right? So, like, I've always heard this, that he always taught in parables. And he taught in parables because people that were smart enough to understood the deeper meaning, and people that didn't understand the complexity of the circumstance thought it was a great little story. I don't know where I got that from. I heard that in my entire life. That's why they always taught in parables. I disagree. Here's why I think they taught in parables. Because parables, I have to form the meaning.
Yes.
You tell me a great story and I walk away going, what does that mean? And there's more power in me deciding what it meant than you telling me what it meant. And the reason why, and here's the foundation of what I'm talking about, is there's a concept called Bloom's taxonomy. And it's these levels, different levels of intellect and understanding. At the bottom of it is our educational system, memorization, right? And then we challenge, we analyze that. And at the very top, guess what the very top is? Creation. When you create, it sticks way better because it's your version of it. And so a parable or you sharing allows me to create my own meaning, which means it will stick with me and it'll be more profound in my mind and soul than if you just told me, the exact instruction.
Amen.
Does that make sense?
Fascinating. Not only does this make sense, but I'm the here you've touched on. I had to write it down. It was so good. The human response when someone immediately challenges you, and then there's that response. You want to talk and you want to defend yourself, or you want to, the fight and flight response.
Or even if you pretend not to in your mind,
yes,
you're doing all those things anyway.
Yeah. It's fascinating what you're saying, because from when all those years in yeshiva in Israel and in New York, and all those years in Jewish private school, and these were not poor institutions. These were the fanciest facilities, the best computer equipment, the best everything. And the model of learning is always extremely argumentative and clashing and fighting. And it didn't work for me. And I was always into art and design and modeling, and I loved always that kind of stuff. And then in my life today, I'm literally sitting in the messiest basement ever, and I got millions of these puzzles and shapes everywhere, and turning entire memorable quotes from Ecclesiastes, if you will, and the whole world thinks I'm completely insane. And I'm reflecting on what you're saying about the modeling and the shaping. And when you give someone a parable, you give them what to work with, and they have to work with it. They have to form their own value. They have to work with it and get their own meaning. And it's unfortunate sometimes that when you get into the Jewish, not just the Jewish religion, but you get into more like the Orthodox or the old school side of the religion. It's almost like Amish, if you could give a analogy. It's so traditional that half the students are just oh, we are not rocket scientists. We do not know. And I've heard them, you overhear the rabbi's son, behind it, behind Toys R Us, if you will, with his iPhone. And I'm like, oh, I didn't see you here. Don't report me. He goes, you saw, don't tell my dad I have the phone. I'm like, don't tell your dad that you saw me. I don't want to get in the middle of this. And sometimes we get the radical traditionalism, which is, this is what it's been for thousands of years. And here you're opening a beautiful can of worms, which is,
If you don't mind me suggesting, it doesn't work. People think that if they get compliance, if they enforce compliance, utilizing uncertainty and fear and or punishment, that it works. It doesn't work. It will short-term work. People will follow you. They'll do the things that you've asked them to do. They will be compliant in the short run. But long-term, no, that's not how people learn. That's not how people grow. The minute the pastor has a personal conflict in their life, they'll go, what? maybe this whole religion is wrong now because I was just doing it because he told me to do it. And now I have to question the whole thing. Why? Because I never figured it out for myself. And maybe people that are listening that are like, well, I can't, I'm having a hard time following along. If you're a parent, follow along to this. You want a highly compliant kid? You want your kid to do exactly what you want? And you just tell them and do these things, follow in high school, keep your grades perfect. Yeah, it works out great, doesn't it? Until when they go to college. And then who are they compliant to? Some dipshit boyfriend? Someone else that chooses to take control? Really? You want that? You want your kid to be a passive, compliant person to an authoritative figures, and you can't control who the authoritative figure is? No way. I don't want that. I want the teenager that's a pain in the butt, that's arguing with me all the time, and he's trying to figure it out for himself. Why? Because I know he is trying to figure it out for himself and will continue to try to figure out for himself after he leaves home, after he goes to college, and throughout life. He will have more success because he's being self-directed in his learning and his choices, and he's not drifting with everyone else controlling where they go.
Yes, everything you're saying is literally, you have taken the Montessori method of where you go on your own as an educational philosophy for children or people with learning disabilities, is that the need and the value of you go on your own adventure, your own derech, your own
journey,
quest,
and
you go where you need to, where you feel you're going. And if you need 3 hours in that direction, go, do, make, be, and everything with the hands and the heart, not just the parrot rote memorization, the sort of the, if you will, the ancient, or not ancient, the early origins of educational schools in like America, where, or no, whatever, in the world, where everything's like spelling bee, memorize everything. And you think in 2026, you'd think we would have figured this out. And I have been called every dirty name in Yiddish. And I'm like, no, we gotta have eccentric puzzles everywhere, and for all the different, and I've even shouted in a room full of rabbis, like, everything sucks and you're doing the religion wrong, which is not the right way. It's also not the right words on Mike Merker to say, but you were teaching. And what is Sunday school to those who who don't know what that is? What is a Sunday school? I know what a Saturday school is.
Totally. Are you asking me that question?
Yeah.
Well,
I've never been.
I mean, Sunday school is just geez, we have like gospels, Bible study or gospel study. That's Sunday school, right? So in fact, this year we're studying the the Old Testament, right? And so we're just going through the Old Testament, group discussion, yada yada yada. Yeah.
So it's a group discussion. It's not raw. It's not like law school and argumentative and case studies and Jewish learning, Orthodox Jewish learning, yeshiva learning, traditional learning is raw. Rabbi at the front, kids at the back. Everyone gets, your 2,000-year-old text, and it's raw. And there aren't even pencils and pens or paper. It's just raw rote memorization and deep listening. There's no visuals, there's no tactile anything. You're telling me when you in the church experience, it's a storytelling and glow and imagery and rich in other areas. Oh man,
and full of
listening. I'm switching religions. I'm switching the hats. No, I'm kidding.
Well, and back to your point earlier with probably a bunch of incorrect taught principles, right? With, well, this is my version. This is what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? Oh, I see it this way. Awesome. Interesting. And by the way, your religion is whose? Yours.
We have to, this is something I've learned from talking to, this is the great benefit of podcasting, which is we get to talk to different people from different cultures and backgrounds and countries and faiths and ages. And I've learned more about toys from having an episode with my niece and her best friend while they were eating chicken fingers and showing which toys they like the most. And this, in this set and this puzzle set, we can build, all the different shapes and sizes. Uncle Michael, did you build the monkey? And did we build our palace? And do we have our flowers and our trains? And, is the sailboat and the juggler and the turkey and the tree? And when my 4-year-old daughter comes downstairs when I'm filming with the lipstick, with the kitty makeup kits, and puts lipstick on me and eyeshadow and tries to put beads in my hair, that's the real learning, is the experiential and the letting the children be children. And they what did there was an argument I had with someone. I'm learning to argue less and listen more because I know what I know. And they're like, don't you see how little kids can't learn anything? And I'm like, what? He goes, you can't teach, what can you learn at 3 years old, 2 years old? And I'm like, language.
Dude, they're learning machines.
Everything.
That's all they're doing is learning. Yeah.
It's all learning. And that's why when you walk into a kindergarten classroom, everything is vast, colorful shapes. Vast learning is happening. Oh, but they can't read yet. There's other things about life than reading books, and everything. 2 years later, 3 years later, they throw out all the tchotchkes, all the stuff.
Yeah.
All the handheld objects, and then you get into books, little paper and ink on it in these straight lines, and goodbye visual learning, goodbye multi-sensory learning. And do you feel that, not just religion, do you feel that education is to be experiential and with the hands and the hearts? Yes,
absolutely. Well, not only that, you sharing what you're sharing about kids and kindergarten or whatever. I think this is what I think. I think their ability to learn and comprehend and ramp so fast in knowledge is because their slate is empty. Because that's not how we, look at you and I, right? Most of our learning is predicated on what our existing understanding is. So if I learn something new, I apply it to what I already know. I see if it slightly adjusts it, right? Versus if I'm fully open to new possibility, the question is, I don't know. Interesting. We're more open because our slate is not defined quite yet, right? And we have these agreements and preconceived notions that we're constantly, the example I always use is the lens by which we see the world. It's like I'm in northern Utah, and so we ski a lot, and it's fascinating because you get on those slopes at 8 a.m. in the morning, and I put my goggles on, and my goggles are kind of an amber reddish hue, and I put the goggles on. And then at noon, when I take a break, I pull the goggles up, and all of a sudden I'm shocked that the world is so bright and blue. I'm shocked. How is that possible? I know what the world looks like, but it only took 4 hours for me to forget what the world looked like because I put some lenses on. And I think that's how we see the world. We put lenses. Think something happens to me at 5, something happens at 10. I put lens. And I'm seeing the world through these lenses, and most adults walking around have no idea that they are wearing lenses. They have no idea. They think what they see is reality.
And it's not.
They're just lenses.
The lenses of life. Yes. The lenses of life, where we're not seeing it. We're just taking everything for granted, and we're not seeing the depth. And yes, Kipp. Yes, you and parenting. Oh my God, so many times. I think in the last year, maybe 100 times, I'm thinking it. Even said it loud. I'm like, oh, if I did that to my father or grandfather, that's a nice traditional, European zest across the face, a nice backhand. But we don't. That has gone away. that has gone away, and now it's not happening anymore or enough. And it's kind of frightening. I'm like, yeah, because when I was younger, 40 years ago, whatever, 35 years ago, if you said certain things, you'd get a slap.
Totally. Yeah.
Automatically.
I mean, it's built into our system. Like sometimes you hear it and you're like, oh, you like look around for a hand to be slapping because you're like, that was not allowed.
And how are we supposed to cope in a world of now that the slaps are gone? Thank God for all the slaps. Oh, I should have been slapped more. They tried to. I now we live in a world where it's almost we're forced to self-regulate at all ages. Kind of frightening. I spare the rod and spoil the child. I think even to like different children. I have 5 kids, 10 and under, and I'm just like, okay, if I broke my father's, microphone for podcasting 6 times, I'm sure there would have been, some red marks somewhere.
Yeah.
But today we can't. And so the parent, the father, the leader has to always choose a gentler approach to, it's frightening.
Well, and I don't even think we let kids feel the consequences of their decisions, whether it's a slap or whether even if it's the other things, right? Like I had a great conversation with my wife. We were just talking a couple of weeks ago, and we're talking about, man, our kids are a little self-entitled, right? They're kind of being brats, right? And we were tempted to be like, we need to sit down with them and say, hey, kids, you need to be more grateful. Like that's the solution. And I'm like, no. Gratitude is a result of not understanding the benefits that they have, and being present to the benefits you have doesn't come without trials. I go, so what hard work are our kids doing to get said benefit? Nothing? Okay, got it. We're not going to say be more grateful. We're going to say get your ass outside and get some work done. And you have to do these things before you can do that. And now when they go do that, they're grateful for it. Why? Because it was on the back end of them having to put effort and discipline into something. That's how you become more grateful for it. You know this, if it's handed to you, you're not grateful for it. But if you worked for it, you become grateful for it. I was raised kind of poor. And so my toys, did I take care of my toys? Absolutely I did. Like they even I organized them nice and clean and took care of them very, very carefully. Why? Because I realized how much effort took for me to receive those. But if no effort was put into getting those, then I'm not going to take care of them. That's life.
Oh my, yeah. I was not raised poor. Oh my, I was not raised poor. I was on.
I was raised poor for you, to help you and me.
I'm only now looking at how not poor I was raised, to the point that, as I always joke, it's like we had like 3 or 4 computers in like 1987 in the basement. There was a huge room of computers. My mom was installing computers and teaching me how they worked. And this is before, mouse and color and operating systems.
x86.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And other areas of my life, going on vacation. I live in Toronto, Canada. So like going to Florida every year, going out for dinner sometimes 3 times a day. There was excess. There was excess traveling extensively to like 40 countries, definite excess. And then now I've had to learn. Yes. Effort. When you get stuff without putting in effort and without discipline, then it removes the accomplishment, the tending to. Yeah.
And the confidence that I could do hard things to reap reward and vice versa. Right. And this is why, maybe a touchy subject. This is why government assistance programs rarely work, because they build dependence, right? They don't build the effort required. Think of it this way. Another good example is, and I don't know what the exact statistic is. I'll let someone else look it up, but people that win the lottery, what happens to them? They make great investments and they pull themselves out of poverty. No, they don't. They struggle. They end up having issues. Why? Because they didn't learn how to manage money. They didn't learn how money works. And so when they got the reward without the character development and the discipline development, it got wasted. It's a natural order for things. Yeah, for us to earn it. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, everyone's poor. You're poor because you're choosing to be poor. I'm not saying it. I'm talking about, who are you becoming? And if you're not becoming a better version based upon the lot that you've been given, if you aren't developing oneself, then you're wasting the hardship. You're wasting it, right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm grateful for my upbringing. I'm so grateful for it because it played a major part in who I was. But if I chose to have a victim mindset around it, like woe is me and it's not fair, and if I was spoken into that my lot is my lot because there's no choices I could have ever made, then guess what? I don't crawl out of it. I don't crawl out of that scenario, even if it was true.
The victim mindset, such a challenging topic in today's day and age. And I feel that I have to constantly, I guess some years ago, I would have to remind myself that it's all me. That if you want something done, you have to do it. Nothing is coming. So I remember, even yesterday, never mind a few years ago, even yesterday, someone's like, podcast? Can I do a podcast? And I'm like, we did a podcast. You were the guest on my podcast. They're like, but can I have my own podcast? I'm like, well, you can have your own podcast in the same way you can buy a car if you will put in the money if you put in the time,
effort required
to learn how to drive and buy the car and take care of the car, so you have to tend to it like a flock of sheep or whatever. And the person's like, but isn't it just, how hard is it? And I'm like, well, you have to produce it. You have to host it. People do not fall from the sky. And it's like, but your episode, that one was really crappy. I'm like, okay, not every episode. You're going to aim for, you're going to do like 200 episodes in 6 months. Not everyone's going to be, Hollywood. There will be some.
Got to start somewhere.
There will be some swearing. There will be some rabbis one day and swearing the next. And then, convict turned businessman over here. And then 8-year-old girl over here. There will be all sorts of crazy things flying all over the place. Mm-hmm. But if you want to do it, not to name any names, Stephen, if you want to do it, you have to set your mind to it and your heart to it. And every 20 messages that go out on LinkedIn or emails, maybe one will say yes. And so you have to bear the scorn, if you will. Sounds like a religious persecution here, but like anything in life, you have to do it, and you have to see it through to the finish line. And then someone's like, wait, so if I could do a podcast, could I invent something? I'm like, well, that's even harder. You have to that's not just an hour interview or 45 minutes. That could be 1,000 hours of 50 prototypes, drawings, designs, people insulting you head on, and you have to listen closely to the wisdom. And in your life, you've done some fabulous things and against adversity, and no one ever gave you a bar mitzvah check, and no one ever gave you that. No one ever. I've had so much support and help, and there's always been a safety net for you not. So you are raw, Kipp Sorensen. Every accolade you have is pure raw. There was no bar mitzvah bonds. There was no free trips to Israel. Oh my God, I didn't realize that.
And I think one thing I always tell my kids, I remember one of my older boys, he's moved out. He's in fact, he's getting married actually in a couple months.
So congratulations.
Yeah. Amazing. And anyhow, when he was in high school, he played basketball. And I remember when he was younger, He was like, oh, Dad, this kid, he's so good. He's so much better than I am. And I wish, right? I wish. And I'm like, well, why do you think he's better than you? Oh, because he's more talented. I'm like, no. Well, what do you think it is then? And I'm like, it's the reps. That's it. That's the only difference between you and him. He's paid the price to be good. You haven't. So you want to invent a product? Pay the price. You want to start a podcast? Pay the price. You want to be a millionaire? Awesome. Pay the price. And accept it, like embrace it, like, hey, this is the path of progression. A price must be paid. Not because, we have a creator that's looking to, make it miserable. No, because that is how you grow. You are anti-fragile by design. I am anti-fragile by design. We are created to become stronger through adversity and pressure. That is how we work. And it's great because society, we've accepted that from the gym, right? Hey, we all know if I want to be a faster runner, I got to run. I got to walk. If I want to get stronger, I lift weights. We've accepted that part. The part we haven't accepted, I think, as a society is the mental and the spiritual side. We go, oh, I'm emotionally distraught and I have frustrations and I'm sad or whatever. We don't go, awesome, great. What a great opportunity to become stronger mentally. No, we go, oh, something's wrong. No. The brain is the same. You are anti-fragile by design. And in fact, I'm a huge fan of Andrew Huberman. He has a quote, and I'm not going to be able to remember it. It's way too long, and he's way too smart for me to be quoting. But he said that the adversities and the stresses that come with life change the brain's neurology and neuroplasticity, and it allows the brain the ability to change. It is an enhancer to learning. Stress enhances your ability to learn. So we shouldn't be going, oh, something's wrong. We should be going, awesome. You have this amazing chance right now to learn and to cement something in your learning in this moment of pressure and stress and cost and frustration and discipline. That's how we're made. We're anti-fragile. It's awesome.
Oh my God, you're packing Napoleon Hill in your pocket. We got Andrew Huberman, the American neuroscientist. Yes. Yeah. He's he also has a really good podcast. You a little bit in the last couple minutes we have you before my computer overheats and my and nature calls, so to speak. What do you say? What do you say to, they're watching, if they're still watching, hopefully they're watching, to those people who maybe are a few steps behind, a few years behind? I'm 42. I have a few accolades. There are those who have more or less, but there are many who have less. You as well. What do you say to inspire and uplift those who are watching, who need the boost, who haven't yet got on the scoreboard, if you will?
Yeah. I'd say that I would focus on who you are being and not on the outcome. I think we have a tendency far too often to think, like ask yourself, what's the perfect life? And a lot of us would say, oh, the perfect life is this home and this money and the balance of my bank account and all these things. No, it's not. And there's a reason why there's a lot of successful people in this world that lack meaning and purpose and are lonely, because they believe the lie that so much of us have believed, that happiness is on the backside of accomplishments. It's not. It's in being present to the blessings that we have and how we show up right now. No one will die going, oh man, I wish I would have made more money. No. We will die thinking probably, and unfortunately, right, for a lot of us is, I should have spent more time with those I love. I should have took more risk. I should have experienced life more than I did. That's winning, right? And we could do it right now. It's a state of mind. We don't have to wait for tomorrow. It's who we choose to be in the moment.
Fascinating. We will pause here on this beautiful high note, and you're always welcome back anytime. We'll fit you in with all the different crazy inventors and marketers and entrepreneurial weirdos that I'm around who look and smell like me. And we'll pause over here. Thank you, Kipp. Amazing.
Absolutely.